So I'm going to call the first year engagement committee to order. It is Friday, June 25th, 2021. And before we get started, I would just like to respectfully acknowledge that the SFSS, the physical location of the SFSS, is on the traditional and unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, which includes the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Coquitlam, and Katzie nations. Unceded means that these territories have never been handed over, sold, or given up by these nations, and that we're currently situated on occupied territories. I would also like to recognize that today I am calling in from, I'm not calling in from these locations, usually I am, but today I am on the unceded territories of the Katzie and Kwantlen First Nations, colonially known as Maple Ridge. I also just want to recognize that this continues to be a really difficult time for Indigenous communities in the face of the news that came out from the unmarked burial sites in Saskatchewan. And so this is really triggering for a lot of Indigenous communities. And we really need to do all we can and all in our power to stand in solidarity with those communities. Reach out to friends you know will be impacted by this, amplify supports that people can access, and make sure that we are not, as settlers, ignoring this issue or letting it slip under the rug. Because, you know, if we are being complicit in the colonial structures that continue to perpetuate these harms. And we cannot underestimate the power that we have in terms of standing in solidarity with Indigenous peoples. So we'll get started with our roll call of attendance today. And we'll do the usual as we do at council: name, pronouns, and access needs. And yeah, first name, last name, pronouns, access needs. And after that, we'll get started with the meeting. So I'll just call on your position and you can go ahead and share those three things. And we'll start with behavioral neuroscience counselor.
Hi everyone, my name is Arti Srinivasan, pronouns she, her, and hers, and all my access needs are met. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go myself. My name is Gabe Leosis. My pronouns are sorry, I also forgot to check. Did everyone has the agenda? Okay, cool. Hi everyone, my name is Gabe Leosis. My pronouns are he, him, his. My access needs are met. I'll pass it off to French counselor.
Hi everyone, I'm Kylie Pockernich, pronouns she, her, hers, and all of my accessibility needs are met. Thank you.
Awesome. GSWS counselor is not here. I'll give her a shout out real quick. Psychology counselor.
Hi everyone, my name is Tiffany. My pronouns are she, them, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you. And we also have a board organizer.
Hi everyone, this is Ella. My pronouns are she and her. My camera's staying off today, but all my access needs are met.
Thanks, Ella. Has anyone been missed by chance? I don't think so. We're a small group today. Okay, cool. Well, we'll move on to the next part of our agenda, which is section 4, consent agenda. And I'll read the motion as it stands. Be it resolved to adopt the consent agenda by unanimous consent. We have two motions under the consent agenda today: the adoption of the agenda 4.1.1 and 4.1.2, which is matters arising from the minutes. And there is some minutes from the last first year engagement committee meeting on February 2nd. Are there any objections to any of the motions under the consent agenda? Everything looks good. Okay, perfect. Well, we'll consider the consent agenda approved then. And that means we can jump right into the thick of the meeting. And that's new business, section 5, appointing a first year engagement committee chair. And I'll read the motion now and kind of explain the process by which this is going to go about, how it's going to go down in just a moment. So be it resolved to appoint X as the chair of the first year engagement committee for the 2021-2022 year. Is there a mover for the motion?
I can move. Arti moves.
Arti moves. Thank you. Is there a seconder?
Tiffany seconds.
Tiffany seconds. Okay, thanks everyone. I do want to make a slight amendment to the motion though, because I did forget one pretty critical detail, and that is also the vice chair elections. So I'm actually going to move to amend the motion just to add a be it further resolved clause that reads, be it further resolved to appoint Y as the vice chair of the first year engagement committee for the 2021-2022 year. Does somebody want to second that amendment?
Kylie seconds.
Kylie seconds. Perfect. Is there any questions on the amendment that I just put forward? Okay, cool. I just forgot to put it on when I was making the agenda, so now I have to do it this way. Okay, we'll put it to a vote then. All those in favor of the amendment to the main motion seeking unanimous consent. Again, if you would like to dissent or abstain, you can use the Zoom raise hand feature. But I'm seeing no objections, so that amendment is carried unanimously, and we'll move back to the main motion. And let me know if I'm moving too fast, because I tend to do that when I'm chairing meetings. But so at this time, we'll consider, we'll move into an election or appointment for chair and vice chair of the committee. I think we're all hopefully used to, well, have witnessed how these types of processes work at council, whereby we have a position to fill and we do a mini election depending on if it's, you know, multiple people want to run for the seat or the position. We'll start off with the chair elections first and then move into the vice chair elections. But essentially how it works is I'll put out 3 calls for nominations for folks who want to either nominate themselves for the role of chair or nominate someone else for the role of chair or vice chair. If you are nominating someone else, that person has to accept the nomination. That would be my role then to ask, you know, if someone else got nominated, I would say, okay, so-and-so, do you accept that nomination? If it is a uncontested election, basically meaning only one person has put their name forward, then that person basically wins automatically. If there is more than one person, so if there's 2 or more, then it goes to an election. So in that scenario, each nominee for the position of chair has 60 seconds to convince members of the committee why they think they are best for the position of chair or vice chair. And after that, the committee also has a chance to speak to who they would like to support for the role. And so we'll start that with chair first and then vice chair. Are there any questions about the process? Are there any questions about the role of the chair and the vice chair that I can answer now?
Yeah, Gabe, I was just having a question regarding vice chair. So could you just tell us more about the role itself besides like helping the chair to, I guess, chair the meetings if they're not there and like just helping them in general?
Of course. So I think the main core reason why the position of vice chair exists is essentially just to chair the meeting in the event that the chair is not there or you know, needs a break from chairing or for whatever reason is not able to assume the position of chair for that particular meeting. But above that is also just the general like support role that the vice chair plays for the chair. So that could include just, you know, brainstorming ideas and discussion items and motions to bring back to the meeting, kind of just being almost like just kind of like a deputy leader of the committee, there to provide support in whatever way they can. It's kind of a role that you make of it what you make of it, and you can decide to kind of take it in the direction of just kind of, you know, the textbook definition of it, just chairing meetings whenever the chair is not there, or you can actually you know, provide support in whatever ways that you can with the role. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, thank you so much.
No worries. The role of vice chair is actually really good because you kind of get to, it's a really good learning opportunity, I find. I was vice chair of, I think, 2 committees last year and vice chair of the board, so it was fun. Any other questions before we get started? Okay, cool. So we'll begin with the position of chair. And again, I'll put up 3 calls for nominations, and by the end of that, we'll see how many nominees we have and what direction we need to take in terms of the process. So this is my first call for nominations for the position of chair. Are there any nominations out there? Tiffany.
Thank you, Gabe. I'd like to nominate myself for the position of chair.
Awesome. So we have a nomination for the position of chair, Tiffany. Thank you. Is there, this is my second call for nominations. Second call, okay. Second call is over. This is my third call. Third call for nominations. Okay, cool. So that window is closed. And it looks like Tiffany is the only nominee for the position of chair. So Tiffany, you are the elected chair of the first year engagement committee. Congratulations. Okay, so now with that being done, we'll move to do the process for vice chair as well. So I'll put out a call for nominations for vice chair. Are there any nominations out there? This is my first call. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to nominate myself for the position of vice chair.
Perfect. So we have a nomination. Fantastic. Okay, I'm putting out a second call. Okay, this is my third call. Okay, nominations are closed. And we also have our vice chair.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, well, that was probably the fastest election I've ever done. So in that case, we'll move to amend the motion. I'll move to amend the motion to strike X with Tiffany and also to strike Y with Aarti. Can I also just confirm that I'm pronouncing that right?
It's Aarti.
Aarti, okay, cool. Yeah. I'm adding an extra A in there that doesn't exist. Thank you. Did you have something else to say, or were you just correcting me?
Oh no, I'm just gonna correct you.
Okay, cool. So I'm moving to make those amendments. Is there a seconder?
Aarti seconds.
Aarti seconds, cool. Is there, well, we've already had discussion on this, so I think it's safe to put the amendment to the main motion to a vote. All those in favor, seeking unanimous consent on the amendment. Okay, seeing none, that is carried unanimously. And we'll move back to the main motion, which reads, which now reads, be it resolved to appoint Tiffany as chair of the first year engagement committee for the 2021-2022 year, and be it further resolved to appoint Aarti as the vice chair of the first year engagement committee for the 2021-2022 year. We'll also put this to a vote, I think, as we've had an opportunity for discussion. All those in favor, seeking unanimous consent on the main motion. Okay, and that motion is carried unanimously. So now we have the chair and the vice chair. Tiffany, I don't know if you are prepared to chair the rest of the meeting today. Is that something you're comfortable with?
Unfortunately not. Please go ahead and I'll learn on the spot.
Okay, that's not a problem. I'll continue to chair the rest of the meeting then. Or even I'll offer Aarti if you're, would you like to give it a shot or?
No, I think I can sit back for this one and just watch how you do it.
Sure, sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, so we'll move to discussion items then, which is 6.1, purpose of the committee. And I thought it would be just a good opportunity to go over the I guess the standing order of the committee, which is essentially the document that establishes this committee and our policies. So if you look at the document I put in the chat, you can pull it up if you like. The standing order for this committee is on page 104. And I think it's important to preface that this committee is fairly new. It was only struck last year by the board of directors, and it wasn't terribly active last year. So this year is almost in a way an opportunity to lay the foundations for this committee and to kind of, I guess, set a precedent on what kind of events or activities or initiatives that this committee would like to take on. So the standing order, honestly, for the committee is pretty straightforward. There's only 3 kind of lines that dictate what this committee is to do. You have, you know, a line that talks about coordinating activities and engagement events and initiatives such as community building events, coordinating first-year advocacy activities and projects. So you kind of have 2 things here. First, you can look at providing first-year specific events. You can look at providing first-year specific initiatives, outreach, and you also have the component of advocacy. So oftentimes first-year issues or problems aren't always given as much attention as, you know, second, third, and fourth years, because first years don't really have a, I guess, a channel or an understanding of how to actually bring these issues forward. Also, most first years don't really even know what the SFSS is. So it's a good opportunity, I think, for this committee to actually engage in outreach and kind of say, yo, you know, you're a first year, you're a member of the SFSS. This is what it is. This is how you can get involved. This is how you can benefit from it. You know, you pay money into the society and you have just as much of a stake in this organization as everyone else. So at a very high level, that is essentially the purpose of the committee. I was wondering if anyone had any questions or thoughts even just about kind of the purpose of the committee or how they see it. I'll just open the floor to discussion if there is anything that anyone wants to add. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering if we can have the opportunity to perhaps like create an Instagram account for the first year engagement committee where we can post more about the initiatives and activities and like also just about the SFSS in general. Because like you said, I don't think many first years know about the SFSS itself. And I feel like it would be a great way to advertise our events and also steer more interest towards the committee.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting idea. I would almost be more, in my opinion, I'm not, in my opinion, it would almost be better to try and get first years on the social media that already exists. Because we've tried that in the past where we've created multiple social media accounts for different things, and it almost creates more confusion around what is what. So even just like trying to get first years on our existing social media, but also creating content that is actually directly aimed at them so that they see themselves within that, you know, that social media and as part of the organization. But that's totally an idea that I think we can explore. I love that idea. Yeah, anything else from folks? We can maybe even bring that topic of discussion with our communication staff too, and they might be able to give some ideas into how they think that could work out.
Yeah, I think it would be a great way to look into it and just hear their thoughts too, since they are managing all our Instagram accounts right now. So yeah, I think that would be a great idea.
Awesome, let's do it. Yeah. Okay, well, if there are no questions for the purpose of the committee, maybe we can move into the next discussion around goals for the year, because I already feel like we've moved into that line of thinking anyway. You know, as most committees are required to do like an annual plan. So they, at the beginning of the year, we get together and we brainstorm, you know, what events do we want to do? What activities do we want to do? What initiatives would we like to do? And in that way, you can kind of plan, this is what we're going to do in the summer semester to get up and running. This is what we're going to do in the fall semester, maybe even the spring semester, just setting a general timeline for the year. And so now I think it's a good opportunity to open the floor and think of what are some ideas that you guys have been thinking about for what the first year engagement committee can work on, and what events, activities, advocacy initiatives that you guys can bring forward this year. Go ahead, Kylie.
Yeah, because I just finished my first year, and I know one of the biggest things when I first came to SFU was community building, like it says in the TOS, just because, like, I mean, I knew maybe 10 people from my high school coming to SFU, and we were all in completely different programs. So I suddenly, I feel like everyone has this. You have to meet a whole bunch of new people. And then I did a bunch of like social events, and I feel like that was great to meet people. So I think it'd be really cool if we could do a couple like social events, community building, meet and greet, stuff like that, so people can meet other incoming first years.
Awesome. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with Kylie because I also just finished my first year, and I feel like having social events, but we can also somehow incorporate telling the student body about the SFSS. Maybe, we could just do like an introductory event about what the SFSS is and like introduce all our committees, because I know that we do still have a lot of large positions are vacant. So we can do like an introduction to the SFSS, and then we can do like social events and splitting it off, and maybe bring in some like advocacy things in it too.
Cool. Tiffany, go ahead.
Just jumping off what Kylie and Arthi said, I definitely agree that we should have social events and also sort of introduce what the SFSS is, because even if we host social events, there's no guarantee that the students who come are part of the same department. So that may really be difficult for them to continue those types of friendships and, solidify that community sort of thing. But yeah, those are all really good ideas. Sorry, my notifications, but that's all.
So these are great ideas, guys. So these kind of sound like ideas and potential events that could happen in like September. So you could even spend this semester, June, July, August, brainstorming what kind of events and planning what kind of events you want to do in September, and maybe even looking beyond that to October and November. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering because we didn't really have a welcome day, right, as a first year. So I was wondering if they generally introduce the SFSS maybe like during welcome day, just give like a introduction to what the SFSS does, because we do play a major role in our community. So maybe we could do like an introduction to the SFSS like during welcome day or welcome week. Like, does that usually happen?
I don't really know, because Welcome Day is more of an SFU planned thing, but I know where we do Welcome Day. Honestly, I don't know the answer to that question, but I know where we do have a really big presence is at Clubs Days, and that's kind of more of the place that we introduce ourselves at the beginning of each semester and at the beginning of each year. But I like that idea. Let's write it down. Welcome Day introductions. Also, I'm going to make you co-host, Tiff. Yeah, these are great ideas. Is there anything else anyone wants to add? There was one event idea I remember that this committee talked about last year, and that was kind of like organizing a panel type event with second, third, and fourth year students or students from different faculties across campus, and talking basically like a what I wish I knew kind of panel event where first years can come and listen to the experiences of students who have gone through their first year. This might even be a good opportunity for second year students who have never actually been on campus before. Like Kylie, I know you said that you finished your first year. You've never been to campus physically before, or at least I'm making that assumption, but it would be a really cool opportunity, I think. Tiffany, go ahead.
Yeah, I was also thinking something along those lines, like how I was thinking was sort of like a speed dating sort of thing. But I was wondering, like, I know Fast Mentors, they also do stuff, and I believe that's separate from us. So like, would there be any sort of clashing or type of events and things like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. We would definitely probably not want to try and like duplicate the work that FAST is doing, or any other faculty welcome leader program or kind of mentorship program. So yeah, I don't know. That's probably important to think about as we kind of like plan what we want to do. Go ahead, Kylie.
Yeah, I did the fast mentorship thing, and in my opinion, it wasn't really like a what I wish I knew thing. It was kind of like, oh, like I had the phone number of an upper year. I would text any questions. There were a couple of events throughout the year. There's like a scavenger hunt thing, just a couple like social events, stuff like that. So if we did like a what I wish I knew panel event, I don't think that would overlap too much with the fast mentorship program. I can't speak for the other departments though.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. And I did the fast peer mentorship program when I was in my first year. And I bet I can imagine it was dramatically different pandemic versus non-pandemic. There were definitely more like socializing, like in-person events and all of that. I don't really know how that worked out virtually, but it's good feedback. It's good to know. Yeah. Anything else anyone wants to bring up? Yeah, I think it's already kind of maybe captured above, but we could do like a campaign targeted at first years on what is SFSS and different ways you can get involved. Campaign targeting first years. Like I often find that our committees and our elections and our council seats, there is a significant underrepresentation of first years. I feel like if more first years knew that these were things that they could run for and participate in, that there would definitely be more first years in these positions. Go ahead.
This is sort of like a general comment about this and like targeting first years, because I know my student union psychology wants to find a way to make a new position that's specifically for first years, since there is also usually 2 at-large representatives. Our president was thinking we can have 1 at-large and then 1 specifically a first-year representative that could sort of get their foot in the door of like doing things with the school and things like that. But yeah, that was just a comment, I guess.
Cool. No worries. Yeah, and I think it's also important to mention too that this committee has 6 seats for specifically first years to come and help plan events for their first year peers, which is kind of cool. Something that's, sorry, phone call. Go ahead, Arti.
Yeah, I was just wondering, since our at-large applications due date passed by a few days ago, are we going to be opening it up again, like maybe in September when like we have a lot more incoming students? Or was that the only time we were accepting at-large members?
So usually we do kind of like 1 round in the summer. And then around September, when there are more students on campus, we then put out kind of a second call for, you know, say we have X amount of vacant seats. We do a social media push and say, hey, apply again. And it's probably even more relevant for the first year engagement committee because you will have that batch of new students coming in. If that answers your question.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Cool. Go ahead, Kylie.
Can I move to suspend the rules to just have more like a conversation and not have to like list before talking? I feel like that might be easier for this.
Okay, sure. Is there a seconder for that?
Tiffany seconds.
Tiffany
Well, second.
Okay, so basically we're moving to suspend the rules to have a bit of a, actually, you know what might be a more, I'm trying to think of my Robert's rules here. There's actually a specific motion where we would move into informal discussion. Oh, well, we'll do suspend the rules. It works just fine. All those in favor of suspending the rules, seeking unanimous consent? Tiff, I assume you're not dissenting on this motion.
I am not dissenting, sorry.
It's okay.
Getting water for the dog.
It's okay, cool, no worries. So that's carried. So feel free to talk freely.
Just a quick question. So did the last committee actually follow through with the what I wish I knew in my first year event, or did
No.
you just have a plan? Okay, Good to
No,
know.
it was planned. I don't think it actually happened.
Okay. So did they run any other events, like especially since we were online, maybe that could help us, like if they ran any events online, we could perhaps follow them if we're still going to be in a hybrid model for fall?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't think last year's committee planned any events or initiatives. It was, I think the committee was still new and there was a lot of other things happening. I think the committee kind of fell by the wayside. So, and for all intents and purposes, this is kind of the first run through of this committee.
Okay, that's good to know.
So we have pretty much a blank slate. Yeah. So I guess I'll also mention that, what was I going to say? Oh, that's deeply unfortunate. It's gone now. Oh, that's right. So I think I mentioned it earlier, but all committees are required to do an annual plan. And the annual plan is just it's a really simple document that kind of lists out what essentially everything the committee wants to do. Wants to plan to do. So, you know, that could be events, advocacy initiatives, other initiatives, engagement endeavors. And essentially, it contains things like, you know, who might be the lead on that, or what is the timeline on that? When is that going to happen? What planning needs to be done ahead of time for it to be a success? And things like that. I can send you guys examples of an annual plan, but as we go through kind of the brainstorming that we're doing now, remember that eventually we'll need to take all that and actually put it into an annual plan document so that we can continue to refer to that throughout the year. And it's actually really, really helpful, I find, and it keeps the committee on track throughout the year. Wow, my brain is not working today. I was just about to say something else. Oh, well, it's gone. Did anyone want to jump in?
Is there a specific date that we have to have this annual plan done by?
There's no specific date, but I would recommend that you do it sooner than later because it really does, I find, help in ensuring that the committee is staying on track. So maybe in the next like 1 or 2 meetings, I guess would be my recommendation. Yeah, and maybe an action item for me. Just writing this in the chat so I can go back and see the chat transcript. Gabe to send example of annual plan. And typically, like, the annual plan also goes up to council, and council gets an opportunity to see like, oh, this is what the committee is planning on doing. Maybe not necessarily for approval, but just kind of like almost like a report to council from this committee. Okay, cool. Well, I think here are some action items maybe we can take out of this. I'll send the example of a committee annual report, but also offline in between this meeting and the next meeting, think about anything else that you want to do as a committee. And also think about all those things that I talked about, like timelines, what it would take to plan something like that, when you want it to happen, if you want to lead it, or, you know, you kind of just want to bring it as an idea to the committee and see if anyone wants to take that up. Start thinking about kind of these details and bring it forward for discussion at the next meeting. Yeah, does that sound good to everyone? Cool. So we'll move to 6.3, which is scheduled for future meetings. And I wanted to ask, does this time work for everyone if it were to be a reoccurring meeting time? Like if we met again in 2 weeks, say, at this time, that works for everyone?
Let me check my calendar.
Cool.
Yeah, it works.
Fantastic. So that makes things a hell of a lot easier. So yes, Tiffany will call the next meeting then, and will chair the next meeting. And in terms of next steps, for that, Tiffany, myself and Corbett will likely reach out to you and do a bit of like a committee chair, and you, Arthi, too, as well, kind of like a chair 101, how to call meetings, how to put together agendas. It's really simple, and once you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun. So keep an eye out for that.
Thanks, Gabe.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, cool. Since we're just kind of having open discussion, is there anything else anyone wanted to talk about while we're all here in the same Zoom room? Awesome. Cool. Well, in that case, it looks like we're done early, so we can move to adjournment. Be it resolved to adjourn the meeting at 1:12 p.m. Is there a mover for the motion?
Arthi moves.
Arthi moves. Is there a seconder?
Kylie seconds.
Kylie seconds. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting seeking unanimous consent, and you can raise your hand if you would like to dissent for whatever reason. Okay, and that's carried unanimously. Thanks, everyone. I enjoyed this.
Good job, guys.
Good job.